Chapter 4. The Pigeon Lady. It has stopped raining now, and Daddy and Jeremy James walked along a crowded pavement until they came to a huge square. It was elephantly bigger than the market square at home. Cars, buses and lorries roared all around it, and there were grand buildings on every side, and towering over it was a very tall pillar, on top of which stood the figure of a man. Round the pillar were 4 stone lions. "This," said Daddy, "is Trafalgar Square, and the man on the pillar is Nelson, who won a great victory for England." "Was he a footballer?" asked Jeremy James. "No," said Daddy. "He was a sailor, a great admiral who won a sea battle against the French." "Why did they put him on top of a pillar?" asked Jeremy James. "As a reward for saving England," said Daddy. Jeremy James frowned. Being stuck on a pillar seemed to him more of a punishment than a reward. But it was typical of grown-ups to put Nelson on a pillar when he'd probably have been much happier eating a tub of ice cream and going out to play. Daddy and Jeremy James waited by some traffic lights until they could cross to the centre of the square. It was full of people and pigeons. Some of the people were feeding some of the pigeons, and one old lady had them all over her, on her head and arms and shoulders. She was throwing pieces of bread on the ground and holding them out for the pigeons to come and take, and she was smiling all the time and talking to the birds. "Come on, me beauties," she was saying. "Come and fill your tums at Auntie Dot's." She caught sight of the wide-eyed Jeremy James. "Here you are, sonny," she said. "Feed the birds. You be nice to them and they be nice to you." Jeremy James looked at Daddy, who smiled and nodded, and the old lady gave him a handful of crumbs. "Just hold out your hands and they'll come," she said. And come they did. In no time, a dozen birds had gathered all around, on and over Jeremy James. One even landed on his wrist and pecked the crumbs out of his hand. Jeremy James said, "Ugh!" and he and Daddy laughed. The pigeons were all making little cooing noise, and one sat on Jeremy James's head and sang "Rockoo, rockoo" in his ear. Then Jeremy James felt something warm and soft slipping down the side of his face. "Oh," said Daddy. "Ugh, ugh," said Jeremy James. The something fell with a little plop onto Jeremy James's collar. It was white and sticky. "What is it?" asked Jeremy James. "Well," said Daddy, "it's normally known as droppings, but in Pigeon English it's sometimes called number coo." The old lady laughed out loud. "That'll bring you luck, sonny," she said, and gave Daddy a tissue. "And what do they do to you if you're unlucky?" asked Daddy. The old lady laughed again. Daddy tried to wipe Jeremy James's face, but the pigeons were still fluttering all around him. The old lady told him to throw the rest of the crumbs away, and then the pigeons would leave him alone. "They're just like some people," she said, "all over you as long as you got summat to give to 'em. Not so keen when you're empty-handed." But even when the pigeons had fluttered away, the sticky white stuff still stuck to Jeremy James's collar. The old lady pointed to a fountain across the square. "Drop of water's all you need," she said. "Then he'll be as clean as a pigeon in a packet of parcel." Daddy took Jeremy James to the fountain and washed his face and collar till all the white sticky stuff had gone. "Will I be unlucky now?" asked Jeremy James. "Not unless someone gives you a loaf of bread," said Daddy. They walked back across the square to say goodbye to the old lady. And now Jeremy James saw that she was not only covered in pigeons, she was also covered with number coo. "You must be very, very lucky," said Jeremy James. "Oh, I am, sonny," she said. "I am. Look at all the friends I've got and the nice people I meet. And I'll tell you something else. Have you ever been on the underground? Yes, said Jeremy James. And have you seen how crowded it is? Yes, said Jeremy James. Well, said the old lady, when I gets on, you should see how quick the carriage empties. Auntie Dot never has trouble with crowds, except, of course, with crowds of pigeons.